What's next, baseball?
Speaking of big names, Manny Ramirez, and here's a guy who seems to make news whether he's on the field or off the field.
Yeah, making cell phone calls.
Is he, is he crazy at this point? Are the Dodgers crazy? Here's a guy who's essentially turning down more money than you and I could ever dream of. Do you think he's overestimating his value or what?
You know what? I don't think he is. I mean, I think you saw his value in a historic stretch that he had at the end of last year when he went to L.A. I mean, you saw what he can do for a team, and I think the Dodgers, you can't call them crazy because if they don't get Manny, this team isn't going to the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, they need Manny to go to the playoffs, but at the same time, there's no other teams that are going to step in.
He's a 162-game player? I mean,
He's
keep
not.
in mind, he went to the Dodgers in late July last year. He gave him, 2 months of good baseball?
Yeah.
This guy's going to flake out for 40 games, whether it's mentally or physically, he will find a way to flake out for 40, 50 games a year.
Yeah, and I can't believe
if that's the case, do you want to pay $25 million a year for a guy who's going to flake?
But they have to, because if they don't get him, they're not going to the playoffs, Danny. They're not going to the playoffs without Manny.
You don't think they can take that money and find 2, 3 good sluggers?
Not right now. It's already March.
Who else is going to win the NFC? Who else?
Diamondbacks are looking for a big-time year. I mean, they struggled last year. Diamondbacks are really upped in all the young guys they got.
You take a look at the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks brought in Adam Dunn last year. He's now in Washington. And Adam Dunn took $10 million to play at Washington. Here's a big-time slugger, big home run hitter, will probably lead the NL in homers. Do you really think that Manny is 2.5 times better than Adam Dunn? Adam Dunn's taking $10 million a year this year. Manny wants 25.
You know where Manny really messed up?
He's not worth it.
He messed up back in November when he turned down the arbitration offer from the Dodgers. He could have definitely made the $25 million in arbitration, possibly more with coming off of that season he had.
For what it's worth, I think he overestimated his value. I think he's a good baseball player who's getting old. And his body might not hold up over 162 games. His ego is not going to hold up in LA for 162 games.
We know that.
He's not 2.5 times better than Adam Dunn. Look, the economy's changing, the market's changing.
He's just hanging out. He's just hanging out. It's Manny Ramirez.
What, you think he's perfectly content?
He can step in a batter's box on opening day and just knock a home run out.
Yeah, well,
Ramirez.
He tried to do that 2 years ago and went until mid-May before he hit his first homer. And I don't think the Dodgers are going to be too happy.
He's just chilling. He's just chilling.
It for the first
He'll be a Dodger. He'll be a Dodger. Danny, continuing to the NBA, on we move. The NBA Eastern Conference, pretty loaded right there now compared to previous years. You got Boston, you got Cleveland, you got Orlando. And then the Pistons, we thought maybe they were out, but then, hey, they beat Orlando and they beat Boston this past week.
Unfortunately, I still think that they're an okay basketball team. They're going to make the playoffs because this is the East. And let's be real, The
Pistons you're talking about.
Right.
What do you think about AI, how now he's hurt and they come out and they beat the Magic on the road. They beat the Celtics on the road without AI, and they put Rip back in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I think maybe AI coming off the bench might be better. Just
you think maybe now that's going to happen?
He's such a high-energy guy.
When he comes back, we don't know when he's going to come back.
He'll be back soon.
Serious injury.
I mean, they're going to need him. Let's be real. He's a good basketball player.
We'll see how hurt he is.
The chemistry issue or otherwise. He's a good basketball player. I think the problem with this team is that they're just not gelling. And you'd like to think by now, almost 60 games into the season that they'd start gelling.
Yeah.
I think the thing they have going for them is that they still don't really need to yet. They can float along. They'll lock up a 6 seed. And, a Detroit-Orlando first-round series.
Detroit beat them last year.
Detroit has every right to believe that they can win that series.
Definitely.
And I know they're floating around the 500 mark. But they're a good basketball team.
Yeah, they're
good basketball teams.
Veteran-laden. I mean, they can turn it on. They know what to do.
They can rest.
Tayshaun, Rip,
they're going to make
Rasheed,
the playoffs.
Those guys have been there. Plus, I think you look at Boston and Cleveland, teams that are trying to make moves here right at the end of the deadline here. Cleveland looks like they might add Joe Smith, get some post help. Boston, they already got Stephon Marbury helping them off the bench, sort of helping them. It looks like.
He's a guy who can score points. They did it with P.J. Brown last year, just a veteran, or also with Sam Cassell.
So we'll see who it comes down to. Maybe Cleveland, Boston, Eastern Conference Finals. That's what I think.
Okay.
Let's move it on to the Lynx here before we go. The Masters coming up in a little over a month. Tiger Woods made his return to the Lynx coming off that left knee surgery last summer. And Danny, he lost in his second round matchup in that match play tournament to a guy named Tim Clark from South Africa.
That's fine. It's match play.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Really? Tim Clark?
Yeah, who cares? It's match play. It's like
the guy's like 176 on a PGA Tour. Never
look
won.
At a leaderboard of a major tournament after the first day, and I guarantee you will see 5 or 6 names that you've never even heard of. Match play is 1 day of golf. It's like
he lost to Tim Clark.
They played 2 rounds of golf.
He couldn't make a birdie, but Tim Clark was just pouring him in on that back.
Do you know who won the match play championship?
Yeah, Jeff Ogilvy. Yeah. Jeff Ogilvy, a former U.S. Open champion. Yes, Danny, you can test me on the golf knowledge. I have it.
I'm just saying, it's Ogilvy.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Match play.
We don't need to panic too fast here.
It's the perfect event for him to come back in.
Yeah.
Because it just lets him hit some balls in a semi-competitive atmosphere.
And he looked pretty good. I don't know if you saw his first hole hole the first
fine.
day. He went birdie, and the next hole he was on the green and 2 on a par 5.
I think he'll be fine. I think it's a good event for him, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of Tiger.
He'll be at Doral in a couple weeks.
We're also going to be seeing a lot more of Peter Saul coming up on main event, so stay tuned for some hockey talk. We'll be right back.